So tomorrow is going to be the first trading day of options for 2025. I'm going to be preparing you to trade the best setups at the best levels. In terms of yesterday, we ended up starting off the morning finally in the red. But when we have a red morning session, which is very, very rare, I would say 9 out of 10 times we are green within the morning trading session. What matters is how we finish the day. So in terms of how we ended up finishing the day after taking a loss on SPY call options in the morning, I ended up trading during the power hour trading session, and I went 2 for 2 back-to-back wins on SPY call options. I bought these calls towards the exact lows, making a 150% profit return on both of the wins combined. With that being said, I'm going to be recapping the trades that I ended up making yesterday and teaching you the strategies towards the end of this video. First things first, let's get into the money-making levels. So in terms of the game plan, this is going to be very simple to make money heading into tomorrow. Based off the daily chart pattern, this is what I want you to be aware of. In terms of this green trend reversal candlestick right here and this green trend reversal candlestick right here on the daily chart, we're going to be comparing this pattern. And then you have this red bearish candlestick right here. Then you have this red bearish, daily candlestick right here. On the next day, the SPY ended up having a small gap up, and it was a strong bullish trend day. So in this particular pattern, we are currently at micro oversold levels in the market, and the pattern looks very similar in a sense, and we're towards a lot of key support on the overall daily chart. So with that being said, we got some gaps that are waiting to fill above as well. So as long as we are gapping up, which we currently are, the main focus is going to be to buy call options. You guys need to understand, when I give you the price ladder of levels, you need to confirm that the level is going to be bullish or bearish. We may have setups or we may have strategies at certain prices within the ladder where it can potentially be bearish or bullish, but we're not going to let that blindly bias us, right? Because we have to trade using confirmations. And I'm going to show you on how I was able to confirm buying SPY call options towards the exact close towards the end of this video. So in terms of the gap up situation, based off the daily chart pattern, which is a foundation that we can use as a setup for a potential confirmation at certain levels, right? So based off the history, it did not retest the previous closing price. Now, if we are gapping up in terms of the levels of interest for buying call options, the first level is going to be the previous closing price, 586.08. In terms of the SPY, you can see right here, the next resistance level is going to be 586.50. So think of 586 as your make or break support floor. Think of 586.50 and 587.50 as your break and retest resistance levels. Those are going to be your resistance levels for the break and retest. SPY breaks above the resistance level, drops back down, forms a bullish 30-minute candlestick pattern, a bullish 30-minute candlestick floor confirmation. You're going to want to be buying call options in between that zone at those levels. In terms of the highest level that I would really consider to use that break and retest on the overall gap up situation, it would be the 588.68 level, right? And then in terms of the profit target above that, next profit target is going to be 590.50 to 591. And then in terms of the next level above that, it's going to be 591.70 up until 593. Make sure you are setting profit stops. When you set a profit stop and you're green on a trade, it is impossible to go green to red. It's going to secure your profits. Move the profit stop up along the way as the trade is working within your favor. Now, let's discuss bearish levels. So in terms of bearish levels, and one thing I do want to say is if we do have a strong bullish trend day, there could be a small drop. In terms of where that small drop can occur, I want you to keep an eye on red bearish 30-minute candlestick confirmation patterns towards this 591.60 to 592.70 to 593 zone. That's where we can potentially see an overall small drop, right? And then later into the week, we have this gap that's waiting to fill above at 595. Strong key level of interest to buy put options if we're seeing red bearish 30-minute candlestick confirmations, along with the higher gap at 600 and 120, right? That's more macro price action. Now, in terms of bears to take control, what we're going to need to see is a crack and break below the following. So you can see right here, it's going to be towards slightly under the previous closing price. If we're seeing 585.70, this 585.70, 585.50 zone break down below, spike back up, form lower highs, react as a resistance level, we're going to want to be buying put options. In terms of if that is reacting bearish, The next level we drop to is 584.50. The next level to buy call options would be right here. This would be the strong level to be buying call options on an overall bearish move for a potential trend reversal right here towards this 579.80 to 580. That is the game plan for puts if SPY is reacting bearish slightly under the previous closing price, and the plan to buy calls at the oversold level if we are reacting bearish for a short-term reversal. So in terms of the game plan, use that ladder and use this information that I provided to you to make money heading into the market tomorrow. I'm telling you, if you use these levels and you use, whatever it is that you use to confirm if a level is going to react bullish or bearish, I give you the best levels in the game, and then I teach you in terms of when I recap my trades, the exact confirmations I use at or towards my levels, which is what I'm about to do. So, in terms of overall ladder, like I said, man, 580 calls, 584 next support level, 585.70 below that puts, and then 586, 586.50, 587.50, 590, and 591.60. And I explained to you what to do with all the overall levels. Tomorrow should be a fairly overall simple trading day. And like I said, man, with the overall daily chart pattern, if we are reacting bearish, I do think we're going to see a bounce towards that 580. So we should see some sort of bounce towards that low 580 if we're reacting bearish. So make sure you're looking for those bullish 30-minute candlestick confirmations for an overall reversal. Now, let's get into the trades. So in terms of yesterday, let's break this down here. So in terms of the trades, G-Roar finally had his first morning red session. So in terms of morning red sessions, this is a very, very rare occurrence within Team Roar. Nobody has a 100% success rate. But with that being said, we did end up buying calls in the morning, and it did not work out in that particular situation. Now, in terms of the trades after that, we absolutely crushed it. So I'm going to walk you through my trades. So in terms of my own personal trading, you guys are well aware, I prefer to wait and trade later in the day. One of the reasons on why that is, I like to wait for the 30-minute chart to develop throughout the day. I'm not too big of a morning trader in a sense. I do have curriculum and strategies and systems that does work with the overall morning trading session, but it's more of a rarity, more of like, once to twice a week. And my main preference and style of trading is to wait until the 30-minute candlestick chart develops, ideally past like 11:30 a.m. And then I prefer to trade during that power hour trading session. And then I'll typically, at times make one trade before power hour. So with that being said, in terms of the trades that I ended up making, when we do have a green morning, when we do have a loss in the morning, what's really going to matter in that situation is how we finish the overall day. Because if we're red in the morning, we can come back stronger and finish very, very green later on throughout the day, right? And then if we're green in the morning, you should be green enough, right, with 2 small wins or 1 big win to call for the day. And then in that situation, if you decide to keep on trading, you risk 25 to 50% of your overall gains. So in terms of the trades that I ended up making, this did make up for the morning loss. As you can see right here, 2:34 p.m., I ended up buying 585 SPY calls at 101 cents. They quickly went up to about 128 cents. Then they came crashing back down. I held through that. As these calls were dropping, instead of adding to the loser, I bought the second strike, and then I held both. So in terms of the second strike, I ended up buying 586 SPY calls at 49 cents a contract, right? The strike before that, members were up 30%. Some of them did trim and get profit stopped out. Others decided to hold through it. And then in terms of the second strike, absolutely crushed it, bought it at the exact lows. So 2:43 p.m., if you go to 2:43 p.m. on the SPY chart, you're going to see right here, the exact low of day is 2:43 p.m. Do you understand? So who the fuck do you know is buying SPY call options at the exact low of day? I always told you, man, that second fucking strike is going to be the biggest money printer you're ever going to fucking see, man. Look at this. This is the trade right here. 2:43 p.m. Let's buy 586 calls at 49 cents. Who got in at 50 cents? Not everyone wanted to get rich, but we had plenty of people who decided to get in at 50 cents a contract. That was the exact low. Do you understand? The exact fucking low. So in terms of where I ended up selling that, I ended up selling at 2:52 p.m. In terms of where I ended up exiting that, as you can see, man, and this was all called out in real fucking time. Every single time I use this overall GIF, this meme, it works every single fucking time, man. I time it perfectly. That's the signal. And I told the chat, it's time. I made the fucking call. So as soon as I made the fucking call, the fucking calls just kept on fucking going up, man. It was just like free unlimited fucking money. And with that being said, I ended up selling, the 586 calls at 91 cents. That's nearly a 100% return at the speed of fucking light. And then I ended up selling the other strike, 585 calls at 152 cents for a 150% profit return. So we absolutely crushed it. And then I told the team after that we're going to be ending the day on let's end the overall year on a high note and call it here, man. Just had two massive wins, not going to be able to beat buying SPY call options at the exact lows, right? So the second strike was purchased at the exact lows. We absolutely crushed it. Both trades were 150% profit return. We had many members overall crush it in that situation, man. With that being said, in terms of the overall trades, I'm gonna break this down. I'm gonna walk this through here real quick. I'm gonna break this down to you, and I'm gonna show you exactly why I decided to buy these SPY call options. So in terms of buying SPY call options, if you go back to my last video with the game plan, right? I told you if the SPY retest the previous day lows, that's going to be one of my levels to consider buying call options. I had many different levels to buy call options. I chose to wait later on throughout the day. And in terms of my confirmation, I decided to get in at 2:30 p.m., which is the opening of this 30-minute candlestick, So why did I decide to get in right here on the opening of this 30-minute candlestick? You have to go back and watch the previous day's video in terms of my explanation on the foundation of why I was interested in buying SPY call options towards the previous day lows. It had to do with the daily chart pattern that I was seeing. But in terms of the confirmation, the confirmation was we had 2 hours of consolidation. We had 2 hours of consolidation above the previous day lows. And then I want you to take a look at these two 30-minute candlesticks right here. This 30-minute candle, this 30-minute candlestick. It looks very similar along with holding support for 2 fucking hours, right? So in terms of big moves, typically if you're seeing 2 hours of support, that's usually long enough where the massive move to the upside is going to occur. And if you're seeing 2 hours of resistance, that's usually long enough where the massive drop is going to occur, right? So in terms of like longer time frames, if we're sitting 2 hours at a fucking level, there's typically going to be a massive move right after that. And like I said, if it's support, typically up. If it's resistance, typically down, right? But in terms of calls, man, just a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities with confirmations that I was seeing on the overall 30-minute chart. I'm going to break this down to you, right? So at the same support level, we had this red candlestick facing to the downside, started to explode up. That was one of my confirmations as well. And then in terms of more confirmations, I believe it was right here. Yeah, it was right here. So take a look. You have two 30-minute candlesticks facing to the downside. You have two 30-minute candlesticks facing to the upside, but it was both at key support with a lot of consolidation. Then it starts to explode up. Then it starts to explode up. So again, that's how I used my game plan. That's how I personally use it. I chose to wait later in the day. I chose to wait for SPY to hit a key oversold level. I chose to wait in terms of like a timing confirmation. I know 2 hours is typically a very strong breaking point on SPY where it's going to have a massive move. So if I'm interested in buying calls towards the previous day lows, like I planned a night before, and if we're just sitting at fucking support for 2 fucking hours, and there's 30-minute candlestick pattern confirmations, right, showing signals of a reversal, and I talk about this all the time, where it's going to try to retest the high of these wicks, which was at 586.50, which is why I kept saying my profit target was at 580.60, right? That was the reasoning behind calls. So I'm telling you, 2 hours is a great overall time frame at a certain specific level for a strong move. I mean, you can see right here that this is about 2 hours, right? And it's reacting as a resistance, and it starts to drop, right? In terms of right here, this is 90 minutes trying to react as, I mean, you could even say more than 90 minutes. You could say multiple fucking hours. I mean, just look at all the fucking hours of resistance right here at 590.40, and the previous support is right here at 590.30. Massive sell-off, spikes back up, lower highs reacting as a resistance. I mean, you got the red, green, red. You got all the bearish resistance levels selling off, right? So I chose to wait for the best level with the best time confirmation with a good 30-minute candlestick trend reversal confirmation. And the overall game plan, which I stuck to, was to sell on the retest of those wicks. When you see these wicks, SPY is typically going to retest these overall wicks. So that's what I have for you. That's what we ended up doing yesterday. We finished the day very, very strong within the green, and in terms of, for those of you who did start light in the morning, losing should have been a personal choice because I gave you 2 massive fucking wins after that, right? So with that being said, the green streak shall continue. Now, for those of you who are serious about making 2025 your best trading year ever, the link to join us is going to be within the first link down below within the description. In terms of what you gain access to, you gain access to our secured private organization, our private network, our community. You gain access to our real-time zero-day options trading alert system. There's going to be new key levels in the morning, along with a market, pre-market game plan, along with a real-time zero-day trading option alert system. So in terms of what we do differently is we buy cheap, far, low risk, out of money option contracts. We're known for selling them deep in the money for the biggest percentage gains. We have over a 90% plus success rate doing this. And in terms of the system that we've created is very, very simple. So in terms of things that we do differently with our overall trading and trading alert systems, our money-making systems, right? You need to understand we don't use stop losses. We do not use stop losses. So in terms of how we manage our risk, since we're not using a stop loss with position sizing, we put in our max risk per trade as our entire position size. So you can risk a couple percent of your account on the trade, and whatever you're putting in is literally what you're risking. So if the contracts go to zero and expires worthless, the most you lose is what you put in, and what you're putting in is your max risk per trade, couple percent of your account, your R multiple. And then in terms of the gains are the biggest percentage gains within the stock market. Sometimes 100%, sometimes multiple 100% profit returns, sometimes 1,000%, sometimes multiple 1,000%. Every single month, we have at least 3 trades where we close out our exit for over a 1,000% return. If you have a 1,000% gain, that means that you can have 9 100% losses in a row or 18 50% losses in a row and still be profitable trading zero-day options. The beauty of this is it gives you a strong foundation where you can be successful and profitable with an extremely low win rate. And in terms of removing the stop loss, another reason why we decided to remove our stop loss with zero-day options is we've realized that you don't have to time zero-day options perfectly as long as you are trading on the right side of the trend, which we tend to be 90% plus of the times. We do tend to time our trades very, very well, but in situations where we don't time it well, we are typically right about the trend the vast majority of the time. So our contracts can drop 50, 60, 70, 80, 90%, which is what we call a dead play. In terms of a dead play, it tends to come back to life and go in the money over 70% of the time in my experience when we enter these trades. So as long as you hold the trade and you don't get stopped out, it tends to go in the money and it tends to be a winner. And then when we're timing the trades more appropriately, we make massive percentage gains before the trade even goes in the money, right? So removing the stop loss is going to allow us to stop losing money, right? And it's also going to allow us to hold the trades to go in the money. And the beauty of this risk management system that I'm explaining to you is it's very, very stress-free. You know exactly how much money you're going to lose when you enter the trade, which takes the stress and pain out of the overall trade. And we're holding our trades for bigger percentage gains, for bigger wins, right? We're winning the biggest you're ever going to see percentage-wise within the market. And then in terms of adding to winners, one of the ways we increase our profits is by doing the following. When we're down 50% on a strike, and we see an opportunity to capitalize on the trend as we're down on that first trade, what we'll do is we'll buy a second strike. And when we buy that second strike, it tends to be the best fucking trade on the fucking planet. The second strike I bought on calls was the exact fucking lows. Everything I'm telling you is going to continue to repeat itself. It's going to continue to manifest. It's going to continue to happen. We have SPY figured out to a fucking T. We've been doing this for over a fucking decade. It's going to keep on repeating. If you choose to sleep on us, you are choosing to stay broke. Now, in terms of increasing the fucking wins, buying that second fucking strike instead of adding to a loser is a much better way to trade. And that's what we do when we're down on a loser. We don't add to losers. We buy in a second strike if we see an opportunity to trade the trend. The second strike tends to be timed much better, and it tends to be a much bigger percentage gain. The first strike comes back to life, goes in the money, sell both for profit, don't get stopped out on anything. Worst case scenario, the trade expires worthless and goes to zero. Best case scenario, the trade goes deep in the money and you make the biggest percentage gains in the market. Now, in terms of adding, so when we're down, we buy the second strike, and when we add to increase that second strike is to increase gains and to get in a much better opportunity. And also, in terms of adding, we like to add to fucking wins. So in terms of adding to winners, when we're up a small amount, so the vast majority of people you follow, they probably make, a couple percent. They buy, they sell. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They just scalp for a fucking walnut. They don't make any fucking gains, right? We hold for massive fucking gains, right? Our fucking second strike will literally outperform any fucking program that you've observed. But anyways, man, in terms of adding to winners, this is simple. When we're up a small amount, most people, they buy, they sell, they take profit, they use stop loss. We do the complete opposite. We don't use stop loss. We set a profit stop to ensure we don't go green to red, and we add to a winner. So when we're up a little bit, we tend to win fucking massively. So when we're up a small amount, instead of fucking selling, and we see a confirmation to add to our win, we just keep on fucking adding. We just add to the winners, add to the winners, add to the winners. As soon as we add to those wins, we protect our new average cost in our bigger gains in our more exposed risk within the market by setting a profit stop. A profit stop is going to ensure that we don't go green to red on a trade, right? It's going to lock us in for profit. We move the profit stop up higher to ensure we don't get back the bulk of our gains if the market has a move against our trade, right? So we get to keep the bulk of those gains, right? And in terms of selling, we like to sell into key levels of interest, and it has to do with times as well and stuff like that. That's where it gets more advanced. Exiting a trade tends to be the hardest part about trading. But with that being said, that's some of the background to our real-time zero-date options train alert system. For those of you who would like to join us and have a very strong start and a strong foundation into 2025, this is the best time to start, man. I'm telling you, our team heading into this year, we're going in very, very strong financially. And in terms of members, we're at all-time highs in members. Everybody's killing it. Everybody's crushing it. Everyone's loving the community, man. So I'm telling you, if you would like to experience this in real time, 2025 is the first link down below within the description. This fucking year, it's going to be vengeance, man. You're going to see, man, a lot of lives are going to be changed in this year. This is going to be a massive year. Make sure, whatever you do, you are in a secured private network, man. If you don't have a private network, man, I'm telling you, you're going to be missing out on massive gains. Surround yourself in a secure private network, with people who've mastered a skill set that can make you money, who've created systems, who have over a decade of experience. I'm telling you, there's multimillionaires within the chat. It's the first link down below within the description. If you are serious about making money and printing alongside us, I will see you within the chat tomorrow, man. Want to give a big shout out to all the members who did decide to join us these past 2 days. It looks like we have a lot of people who are serious heading into 2025. We're serious about setting up their year and their foundation for a very, very strong one to end this new year on a green note, man. So the best time to get started is right now, man. This is literally the beginning of the year. If you're serious about making money, this is the best time. We will see you tomorrow. We're going to absolutely crush it. And until then, I will see you guys within the overall chat.